All right, hopefully that fixed it. All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. My name's Noi, representing Roddy Fighters. We are on episode 17 of The Way of the Blade. I have a special guest tonight, Feremuntrus. I'm never going to get that right, but I'm going to keep trying. Joining us to break down Zas. Tell the community about a little who you are, man.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me here, Nori. And no worries about the name, honestly. Fun fact, I had the same situation, my own real name in real life, so it's all good.
Oh, nice.
But, okay. So I'm a new player to Soul Calibur and fighting games in general. Soul Calibur 6 was my first fighting game title that I've actually taken seriously, so it's also my first introduction to the series. I started off as an Aswell main, and after spending a year muscle bustering people, I realized that I didn't learn anything about how to play the game. I kept getting destroyed. And so I decided, well, why not pick a character that's heavily on neutral? And I chose Zas because he was the coolest character that I honestly thought was in the game. Mm-hmm. And I completely fell in love with him. And that's counterintuitive because most people see him as a spamming lunatic, but hopefully I'll try to break down the fact that he's not really like that at the highest level. And since then, I've slowly tried to improve, thanks a lot to a lot of the information and help that a lot of the other Zas players have been doing, especially in the Discord. If anyone's new to the game or is interested in picking up Zas, definitely check out the Zas Discord. People like Andy Rue and many other great players have done a fantastic job of making a lot of resources.
Awesome.
And as for myself, I've originally tried to practice in weekly tournaments. That's been my primary basis of getting some experience in the game. And I've now consistently gotten top 8 placements on most of them. My biggest accomplishment to date probably wasn't Dos Ex Kylo. That was held a couple months ago. I got top 8. I'm going through some very tough competition, so I'm very proud of myself for that. But obviously, I feel like I still have a lot to go, but I feel like I have enough knowledge about the character and the tech involved with Zas that I can at least speak to him as equally competent as any other Zas player out there in the world right now.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for that introduction. Yeah, it's definitely been fun watching you scrap with a lot of high-level players. It's really cool, man. It's good shit. I'm not one of those people who really understand Zas a lot, so this is an episode that I'm going to probably learn a lot from.
And you're gonna definitely enjoy this because you're gonna realize how broken your character is against mine.
I thought I was here, man. I was here. The Cervantes beats him 6-4, and I'm always thinking like how. But you know what I always thought? Like, you know what? I just don't know the matchup. That's all it is. So.
Well, I'm happy to help and make it easier for you to kick my ass in the future.
All right, man. All right. So let's see. So let's start. Let's start going with your personal favorite moves and why you use them.
Sure. So when it comes to the character in general, I guess the first thing I'd want to address is what kind of a character is Zas. Mm-hmm. Most people see him as a lunatic who does a lot of 6A, 3A, 6A, contains movement, does a lot of pseudo pressure, and basically controls the match. But the moment that the opponent actually knows how to play string defense against Zas, he becomes basically a shell of his former self. He has no real pressure whatsoever. His lows are very unimpressive overall, and his throw game is subpar at best. So what I define Zas at the highest level is actually a defensive character, someone who you really want to counter hit fish with, and someone who obviously you want to take advantage of his movement contained tools, but use them strategically and sparingly, because if you just keep spamming strings, you're most likely going to get one shot, CE punished, rung out, wall splat, or even worse. You never know.
Right.
So in terms of the general game plan, it really depends on the type of player you are. Some Zas players like to mix up string defense with GIs to create this pressure because the lows and regular strings don't provide a lot of pressure. I am more of a defensive player. I like to maintain good spacing, movement against the player, and also counter hit fish. So for example, we'll like for B, try to do like an AB, for example, right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's string. And in neutral, that can net you around 60 to 70 damage plus decent Oki on a good counter hit read. It's -8 on block, but obviously that's why you have to play Zas patiently and just pretty much play defensively really well. Which is why if you can play Zas really well at the highest level, you're most likely capable of playing any character at the highest level very well because you have the proper fundamentals and neutral to play him well. I guess in terms of the game plan, so like I mentioned, I prefer a defensive game style. So if we just start, I prefer movement. I prefer to whiff punish. When it comes to whiff punishment, he has several good tools, but the best one in my opinion is 6B plus K, this one. Because on hit, he gets guaranteed curse and 60 damage, and he's in a +4 situation. So for most characters, if I was to do a 6A curse, if you let me hit you there,
Go ahead.
try to sidestep after the curse.
Okay. Ew.
3A is guaranteed at that point.
Yeah.
So there's pretty decent pressure when you're at +4 with Zas. Now, there's a situation where sometimes you're guaranteed a curse with 3K, which is the mid curse. So for context, Zas has 2 curse moves. One is 6K. It's a high. It's -12 on block, but most people don't really punch it because it's hard to distinguish it from 3K, which is the mid, and that one's safe.
Yeah, it's very hard to see.
Yeah, -6 and -8.
Huh.
Now, one thing that most people don't realize actually, and is if you let me hit you with the curse.
Go ahead.
The pushback is much worse when you do 3K. And one other thing is that the damage is actually even lower than if you did the 6K. 6K is I-12, 3K is I-14. So one thing you'll realize really quickly was regards to standing punishment. Usually he doesn't really have any good I-14 options, so you're most likely to be relegated to AA, KK, which is a force crouch, but it's 0. AA is +4 on hit, or 6K for the curse. Some characters like Grow, when you punish a lot of his moves, 6K will actually be out of range, so you're going to have to be forced to use AA.
Oh, okay.
So one thing that you realize really quickly this character is there's a lot of matchup-specific knowledge that you need to know in terms of both block punishment, combo punishment, tech traps, and the like.
Okay.
So in terms of great moves, I guess I'll start with this. What I consider 5 of Zaz's best moves. Obviously, Zaz players will have a different opinion about this. My favorite moves are full crouch 3K, which you can do pretty much instantaneously, tech crouches, and although it's a high, it has pretty good recovery. On hit, it guarantees a curse, 40 damage. It's a very good I-14 punish, although some characters have moves where the pushback's too great for I-14, or if they're in the forced tech crouch state, you're going to have to do Wall Rising KB instead. So you have to be very aware of this. But it's very good, especially if someone's sidestepping, you can catch your step. It's -2 on block, so you can still mash and do other kinds of pressure. My other favorite move, which is I think something that Zaz players are beginning to use a lot more often, is 4A. This move is very deceptive. It has ridiculous range. It's -2 on block. And since Season 2, we got the option now of if you don't hold block, with 2 curses guaranteeing strings like this. Putting me in a +4 situation, giving me a curse and 68 damage. Or if I was to have 3 curses on you, and if you stay right there actually. And ring out situation.
Gross.
So if you're very aware of your surroundings, your placement, the amount of curses you have, there's a lot of utility you can get with this move. And we'll go over that more in terms of the tech traps. I guess one thing I'll say right now, which is pretty fun fact that most people don't know. Normally with 1 curse, you don't even have anything guaranteed at a 4A. But actually, you can do this.
Wow.
You can have. There's actually been more. You can do one little demonstration if you go next to the wall again.
Okay.
It's very rare that you get into a situation where you. That's another situation. The 4K doesn't really splat. That was the 4K bottle that I was using.
Oh, okay.
And I'll get to that more in terms of punishment game because that's very important.
Oh, no way. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, the timing is a little bit difficult in Parsec. I'll be very transparent right off the bat because even though I'm in a water connection, I kind of have a bit of a delay. So hopefully I'll be able to get my strings and combos decently consistent throughout
That's crazy.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So 4A is an amazing tool, full crouch 3K. My favorite tool of all time is probably 4-6B because this is the way that, in my opinion, Zas is able to enforce consistent damage rates with other characters. Other characters like Cervantes, for example, gets like 70 damage, but it's amazing okay out of a regular 3B. Zas doesn't really have that. Instead, I kind of rely on 4-6B either as a read, as a tech crouch, or as a duck punish, or as a whiff punish to get really good damage off. So that's kind of my preferred way of getting damage. And while most Zaz players feel that you need 2 curses to do substantial work of 4-6B, I'll actually show you some tech as to why 4-6B with 1 curse is actually very useful, very powerful, very consistent, and is actually necessary for him to be competitive at the highest levels, especially against players who have really good string defense against them.
Right.
Another great move, in my opinion, for B, for the counter hit fishing, it's very nice. But the recent, I would say, golden child of Season 2 is 4A plus B. This silly looking spin move right here.
Yeah, it's obnoxious move.
Yep, it's neutral on block. It has a little bit of tracking on side, so you have to do a lot. Like if you try to sidestep just a little bit, yeah, you have to heavily commit to sidestep to catch it.
Right.
And on hit,
it
guarantees you curse. So again, I'm in a +4 situation. I have a curse on you, and if it's blocked, I'm 0, so I can technically even use movement as a way of getting out. So try to 2A. The delay was a little bit hard. Try 2A again. Cervantes. Okay, Cervantes is a little bit trickier with the spacing. For most characters, for most characters, I'll be able to immediately get a 60 damage punish and another curse right off the bat from there. Wow, it's an amazing tool, but the best thing about it is if you hold guard. Let me reset it. 18 guard damage.
That's a lot. Wow.
Yep. So it's very difficult. You have to catch him on a hard read. Especially, you have to kind of force him to block, which is kind of the magic of Zas. You have a lot of tools to contain your step, and once they finally stop moving, do a 4AB, get some guard damage going, because most likely a throw, especially against top players, is going to be very risky. They can duck it. The damage isn't too great at the curses, at the throw, as well. So you have to be very careful, and you have to really adapt to how your opponent is playing their defense to figure out what's great. But 4A plus B is an amazing tool just to establish some pressure and kind of enforce him to start sidestepping a little bit more. And overall, besides those two, I would say like those are the 5 best tools in my opinion. But obviously you have your 6A.
Right.
6A is +6 on block. If I catch you with a second hit, if I hit you, for example.
Oh, the second part. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no! Ew.
Guarantees back to B plus K for decent damage. When the spacing is very good, I can also do a back turn 2K to put you into a back turn vortex as well. So again, spatial awareness is extremely important. Obviously, players will soon realize that you can duck the second hit. So if you try that, and that's exactly why that's exactly why I hate spamming 6A in neutral.
Yeah.
And Cervantes doesn't even need to do that. He has IGDR. So
he's IGDR while standing A. Yeah. His while standing is pretty nice.
Yeah, so you have a lot of amazing tools, and a lot of characters have a lot of amazing tools that they duck the string. If they do 6A, that's why Zas also has 6A plus B. If you duck, for example, so this is an attempt to catch the attempted duck, but it's 16 damage. It's +10, but usually the spacing is not great for you to have a lot of pressure. So, in my opinion, the reward of 6A plus B is not that, and you can sidestep, exactly. So, the reward of catching a duck with this is very minimal, honestly.
Right.
I don't believe that it's a great situation that Zas has put in.
So, you like just doing 6A by itself?
So, yeah, that's what a lot of Zas players like. They like to, especially if players like to use GI as a way of catching both options. So, try to GI. Oh, sorry, let's get the timing exactly. Try it again. See, so I can do a lot of crazy things.
You can screw people. Yeah, I like that.
Here's another example what I can do if I catch a GI attempt. Try it again. Yeah, the parsing delays make it a little difficult. Yeah. No, once I hit you with the first hit, then you can GI.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, timing's a little bit off. Try it again. Let me hit you. There we go.
Oh wow.
So if I had 2 curses, for example, in other characters, I'd be able to get over 100 damage off of a punish. Sometimes the access is a little bit difficult with most characters.
That's a lot, man.
But so you have 6A as a tool. You have the 3A series, which is basically 3A hold. If you hold it, 0 on block, it's around 14 to 13 guard damage. And if it catches you while you're sidestepping, or if it catches as a counter hit, for example, it launches you backwards. Nothing's guaranteed in that situation if you try to sidestep
'em.
So the range usually is a little tricky. Sometimes I can get a back turn B plus K as a guarantee, but if you roll out of the way, that's not going to work. Sometimes I can do back turn 2K, the low swipe that I used before.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That knocks you down. Try it again. You have to sidestep. You have to sidestep so I can get the counter hit. So here's the problem. See, in some situations where you're by the edge of your wall, you can get the low for.
So it's very situational, that last kick.
Exactly. The position is very important. Normally, what I like to do is, if you sidestep a lot, if you turn around to a 6BB, that's a guaranteed force block, and it gives you around like 10 guard damage.
Oh.
But it puts you in -6, I believe. So that's, again, you're going to lose your turn, but it's good, especially if you're playing the guard gauge and patient game.
Gotcha.
So 4A, 3A series, and just to clarify also, so that was the heavy hold. If I do partial 3A plus B, that's +2. Does a decent amount of damage, but if you block it, it's -16. If I do partial,
really?
If I do a little bit partial, now it's -14 on my end. But that can be very dangerous in certain situations. So, for example, everyone knows that Zas loves being by the edge and doing 3A until someone gets wrung out.
Right.
But if you have a character like Sophie, for example, if you do a partial, they block, they stab you, they ring you out for I-14. And some other characters can do a lot of punishes that can basically lose you the game. So you have to be very careful as to when you use 3A, even by the edge, which most people may not.
And the second part's a B?
Yes, the second part's a B.
Maybe that doesn't work. Oh, it does work. Never knew that.
Yep.
Huh.
So Raphael can sidestep and do the 4-6B, for example, and get 70 damage plus potential wall gain. There's a lot of crazy punishes that you can get off of 3A series. You can simply sidestep and do a 3A too. Oh. Not enough frames for that one, I think. Oh, sorry, caught you. There you go. Again.
I mean, I'll just,
Yep.
I'll just take my. Oh my god, I hate you, Parsec. I'll just take my 70 damage. Whatever. That's fine.
So this is why the 3A, 6A series is overrated. And another thing that people see a lot is the 6A series. So this has two options. If I hit you with it, if you don't block, it's a guaranteed 6K, another plus for a situation, and I get a curse. If I landed and I noticed you blocked the first hit, I can hold it, and in that sense, it will become -4 on block.
That's really nice.
If I was to do the regular 6A, I'm at -14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know.
So people may think, well, it's a pretty good tool. You can mix up your timing, but what most people don't realize is you can actually option select both options. So, for example, Surf has an amazing 6A plus B to counter hit horizontals. So So this is what I'll do. You hold block. The moment you see I land the first 6A, press 6A plus B immediately.
Okay.
See, I didn't use the held version, and you still have time to react to do the I-14 punish. Now, do the same thing, and watch what happens if I do the full held version. So you just killed my whole string altogether with a simple option select.
That's crazy. Wow. See, I didn't know that.
Now I'm going to do the regular unheld version, do the same thing, and punish me with the I-14. So he just basically killed his whole string. And you have options to kill the 3A series, and you have options to kill the 6A series.
So I don't want to. So I actually want to get into a section later because I usually save it all to the end because I timestamp it for Anti Zas. This is all really good, but I want to I want to kind of have it organized because there's some people who are like, hey, I'm not going to main Zas. I just want to know how to beat him. So I'm going to have a whole section for that. So that's really great Anti Zas stuff. So
sure. The reason I kind of I understand that. The reason I kind of emphasize that right off the bat is so I feel it's a bad habit for Zas players online to think that these are your bread and butters, that you only do 3A, 6A, 6A, and think that you're going to succeed.
We have a section for that too. There's going to be a section where I'm going to let you free, I want to say free ball it. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Freestyling. Yeah, exactly. Freestyle it where you're like, hey, give some advice to Zas players what they should or should not be doing, and then you can just go ham. For now, I kind of want to stick to why you like the moves, which thank you for all that because you're giving me a ton of information, which is awesome. I think we actually have anti-step covered pretty well. We can probably skip that section. You've covered anti-step really, really well. Let's see here. What do we got next? We have... Do you feel like he's like a poking character or not really?
He can be, but his pokes are pretty garbage. BB,
Okay.
for example, on hit is minus.
Ew, I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah, it's a very terrible B, and it's I-16, so that's doubly
slow.
bad.
Yeah, that's slow.
AA is pretty good. It has decent range, plus 4 situation. 2A has decent range. It's not like a Setsuka 2A, but it's pretty good.
Right.
And it's kind of one of the ways that the top Zas players maintain a lot of prep against players.
Okay.
For other poking, I actually like 4B as a counter hit fish.
4B.
For example, let me try to actually do something cheeky. If try to A plus B right now. The counter hit is very hard to get with the parsec. Let me try it again. Try again.
Ew. Ew. Ew.
Yeah, I kind of whiffed the back turn K.
That's scary that you did 98 and still didn't finish it. That's gross.
Now you want to see something? I'll show you something guaranteed with 4B plus K. I have to counter hit. Here we go. This is all guaranteed with 1 curse, by the way.
No. No. Bro.
That's why you should always fish for 4B by the edge or by the wall.
That's
with
insane.
1 curse, you basically have 100 damage guaranteed plus decent Oki afterwards.
They're so demoralizing to get hit by that.
Yep. So that's why I love using 4B as a counter hit tool. One tool that's very good, came with Season 2 as well, is 214B plus K. This on hit guarantees a 6K curse as well, or alternatively you could do AA for a little bit more damage. That's kind of something I'll mention right off the bat. Whenever you're in a plus 12 situation, you obviously can do AA for the damage, KK for pseudo pressure with the force crouch, or 6A for the curse. But yeah, with this move, plus 4 on block, on hit I'm guaranteed a curse. It has some tracking, but the recent patch basically killed most of Zas's horizontals. But this is a very good tool to establish some pressure and hopefully force the player to start sidestepping a little bit more.
That's nuts. Wow, I didn't know that. A lot of good info. Thank you.
Another tool, if you realize that they like blocking, especially if you don't like, for example, like so 4A plus B is very good, but it's the whiff recovery is horrible.
Oh yeah, I imagine.
A semi-safer bet is 4B plus K, 15% guard damage, does pushback, so although it is minus 16 on block, no character can really punch it, except for Wrath with 6BB.
Do it again?
It's minus 16 on block, but you're not going to be able to punch it. We'll see. I think you will, actually. Yep, so that's another reason why you don't do it with Survey.
Okay. So pretty much anybody with a long-range super, like Cervantes and Wrath, have extremely long-range supers, so, okay.
Exactly. And especially if you notice that a Zas whiffs a 4B plus K in the near wall or edge.
I never knew it was that.
Always take the I-16 opportunity to punish it. Similar situation, I believe, was with this move. This also came recently with the patch 2-2B plus K. This is the absurd cartwheel that he does. It is, it guard breaks, that's one thing, but that's another discussion for another day. But it has really good range coverage, so if you're trying to whip punish a long-range character like Ivy, this is amazing.
Right.
But it's also, I believe, minus 12 or 14 on block, but because the pushback is so great, it's basically unpunished.
Yeah, no one's punishing that. That's really nice. Wow.
But be careful about using this in neutral because it can easily get sidestep.
Yeah.
Yep. And you're going to get whip punished very hard.
Huh.
So this is a really good as a long-range whip punish tool. That's kind of what I usually reserve it for.
I appreciate all the info, man. That's dope.
So that tool is really good. For lows, I guess even though I personally consider that a very bad lows, he has some options. 1A is pretty solid. It is minus 4 on hit, and it has decent range, but it forces you in a crouch, so it's kind of hard to contain pressure in that situation. Because the best option is full crouch 3K, but if any player is aware of that, they'll just do a tech crouching move and most likely catch you anyway.
Right.
You have 1B, which is the best damage out of all the lows you have, but it has horrible whiff recovery. So if you sidestep it, that was a counter hit. If you sidestep it,
damn you, Parsec.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a very good demonstration of what can happen.
Yeah.
So use this one sparingly. The reason I like to use it in neutral, even when I don't have curses, is on counter hit. It can give you some decent pressure.
Let's see. I'll do A plus B. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, that's cool.
Right. 2B is guaranteed in that situation. Let me do it again. This is guaranteed. That's AB plus K, so you can do the vortex right away.
That's
so
dope.
you have some good options. With a curse, If you have even one single curse, if I did get a counter hit, if you're not aware of how to tech, I got 83 guaranteed right off the bat.
So I can attack that all that. Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, some characters in some angles. It's very characters and situational specific, which we'll get into further.
For sure.
So if you're looking for counter hitting the opponent, 3A series is pretty good. 4A, and when I say 3A, that's assuming you splice up. You don't necessarily have to follow up with a string. And 1B is pretty good, but you have to be careful that if it whiffs, you're in a bad situation.
Right. Awesome.
His best level actually is 1-1. Actually, it's 1-1B. Sorry, this is actually a move that was terrible before season 2. Now it's 0 on the hit, and it has very absurd range. If I could be able to demonstrate,
I've never even seen this move before. Never seen.
Try to stand where you are. Yeah, because your character's side profile makes it a little difficult. Let me try it this way.
I've never seen.
Actually, I have a good demonstration of this. Start sidestepping. Sidestepping so I can get the counter hit.
Okay.
So if you didn't roll in that situation, that would have hit. So that's just an example of how great the range can be too.
That's nuts. That's nutty.
But of course, you have to commit to the side crouch, so you have to be a little bit more careful on the defense once you're recovering from that situation. So he has a lot of decent pokes. The lows aren't anything fantastic. Of course, when you have 2 curses at least, 1B guarantees you certain setups.
Okay.
So 3A is guaranteed after that, except for against Astaroth, I believe, is the only character where you won't be able to get 3A guaranteed afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
You can also get a 4-6B. So one thing you see all the time, you have to be standing for this one. What Zas players love to do, but the edge is guaranteed.
That's nuts.
When you have 3 curses, I believe you're in plus 24 or plus 20 actually. Sorry. So that would guarantee not a 3B because you're actually going to have too much pushback.
Mm-hmm.
But what most Zas players will do in that situation is the 4-4A plus B.
That's crazy.
Which is pretty good.
We're actually leaning right into what we're going next to anyway, which is ring out setups. Because Zas is a horrible ring out monster.
Not as bad as Nightmare, let's be fair. But one reason I absolutely love Zas is the amount of combo complexity and tech complexity he has is probably on par with the top of the list of any character. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Raph, I've been dabbling with Raph, I don't know if he has more, honestly. Mm-hmm. But Zas has a lot. So, for example, easy things would be like 3B into B plus K. B plus K is your base, the hard bread and butter of you getting any kind of extensions for a lot of your ring outs.
Okay.
So let's see what other. There's so many setups, man.
Yeah, just honestly go over like maybe a couple of your favorites. We're definitely not going to be able to hit them all.
Some of my favorites by the wall. If you have 2 curses, 1B. So here's one problem that Zas players need to know. Even though you have the frames for a 3K, mm-hmm. which will normally wall splat, the pushback after 1B is not so good. So what you see most Zas players do instead is do BK standing.
Okay.
This will actually wall splat. It's I-14. So normally you have to delay it a little bit. 3K, which guarantees a 6B for the pop-up, and you just got a guaranteed ring out. The BK is a little bit tricky. You have to delay it, so there is some minimal execution requirements, but that's a very common situation. Let's see. When I have any kind of stun situation with A plus B, so yeah, this is why it's kind of difficult. I'm kind of assuming most Zas players have a basic understanding that, for example, if I land an A plus B, you're kind of in a stun situation where I can do a lot of different things.
Right.
6A plus B, for example. Some other options actually, which are pretty interesting. I can do this. Use this as an extension.
Oh no.
So after the stun state after A plus B, I can use 4A plus B with the curses to get an extension for range. If I do a lethal hit, for example, 6BB, mm-hmm. I won't be able to ring out from here, but just so you see how much range coverage I have.
Jeez.
So the BK at the end there, when I launch it for the second time, that was already air controllable because I already used this twice midair. Okay. So that's why there's a lot of knowledge checks when it comes to this character, both on the offensive side and on the defensive
That's why I think he's such a good tournament character, because nobody laps Zas. Like, they really don't.
Well, the thing
They
is,
should,
these setups, you don't really need to be aware of them too much, except for just avoid the wall and avoid the edge, which most
Yeah.
players already understand.
Right.
What they really need to know is how to deal with these strings, and once you do that, pretty much most Zas players are going to have to start playing a defensive game, and that makes it much more difficult for them to actually have a solid game plan.
All right, so let's go over what we have next here. Does he have RE safe moves?
Yes, some RE safe moves are 2B plus Ks, which I forgot to mention is one of his better lows actually.
Mm-hmm.
On counter hit is a plus 10 situation, and it puts you in a mini stun state.
Oh, it's filthy. Okay.
That was
1 KK?
very interesting. That was very, yeah. This is safe. I can do 3 AK.
Oh, wow.
So those are the main tools I would normally use in that situation, or situation that can consistently avoid RE, except for maybe against Nightmare because this is pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
Some other moves that are pretty nice is, for example, if I do 1A.
Appreciate the follow. Thank you.
Try to block, try to RE. Yeah, so in some strings you'll be able to RI. For example, the infamous 4A plus B. If you were to RE this, you held it, but normally you'd be able to.
Oh, I'll just tap it then. Okay. I always hold mine.
Yeah.
Right,
but just be aware as a Zas player which moves you can basically RI, and basically that'll avoid you a lot of trouble and allow you to put some pressure even on block.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the list is very extensive, so I wish we had like 3 hours to cover all the information.
No, yeah, honestly, you're for sure one of those players where I could definitely listen to for hours and hours and hours talk. But it's more like I want people kind of get their feet wet, with the character. Like, hey, I have enough where I want to reach out to the Zas Discord to really learn the character, or hey, fuck Zas, I want to just learn how to beat him. So let me get to the Anti Zas section,
Sure.
All right, so let's see, what else do we have?
I guess the fun thing, we should go is the tech traps, because this is what most people are especially frustrated about when it comes to Zas.
For sure.
So I'll go over a brief primer on 4.6b, which most people may know. So normally, if you do 4.6 plus B, with 2 curses, you have 2A plus B guaranteed. 2A plus B was this break attack, which once you're launched after 4.6b, basically puts you into a stun state that has this as a guarantee, for example. Now, normally this isn't guaranteed with 1 curse, but there's actually certain situations and certain characters in which it does. So for the general breakdown, 4.6b with 1 curse is guaranteed against all characters, in the sense that if you side Ukemi, you're still going to get caught by the break attack. Okay. Except against 2B, Ivy, and all male characters except for Geralt, Grow sometimes, Cervantes sometimes, Yoshimitsu, and Haomaru.
Okay.
So what's the counterplay when you get hit by this with 1 curse? Because let me explain why it's very nasty to get hit by this. If you don't Ukemi.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is why I say Cervantes sometimes can get hit by it, sometimes it's not. I don't risk it these days because I don't want to lose a game by having it whiff.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. Tournaments, you got to go with consistency.
So go by the edge, so it's guaranteed for sure. And I'll demonstrate to you why this is very scary. With 1 curse.
Ew.
So this is by the edge. But if it's in neutral, I won't be able to get that guaranteed. That B plus K, so you'll only be able to get 93 damage.
Only? This guy.
Only 93.
Crazy.
So what you should be aware of is, for the characters that I mentioned where this is guaranteed, the only way to avoid this is to back Ukemi. So try.
Okay. Okay.
Now, there's counterplay here.
Right.
Try it again.
Ew. Ew.
I can do 2.6.6b, which is basically just 2.2b, but it's a way of buffering it so that it works right afterwards. And that will catch any back Ukemi, and in certain situations it will catch, I believe, it will catch your left Ukemi for sure. So try left Ukemi, for example.
Okay. Ew.
So that also worked, and it just guarantees me about 100 damage right off the bat. So here's something that a lot of players don't know, which only the very select few pro players have started doing. Once I land the 4.6b, you can Ukemi right there. So try to back Ukemi right The moment I landed 4-6B, you can back Ukemi. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
there we go. So for a lot
Crazy.
of characters where 2A plus B is normally guaranteed, this may be an option of avoiding this altogether. And if you stay there, the 2-2B will not launch you. It will only launch you if I catch the backstep.
Okay.
Some other characters, and this is character specific, of course,
Right.
are able to Ukemi twice. So try Ukemi once the moment the 4-6B hits, and you'll be able to Ukemi again. Once I start doing the 2-6B, try to Ukemi again. See? You can do it twice. So there may be certain positional setups where you can avoid both this option and this option. A lot of players don't know this, but I'm being very gracious by providing this little cheat code. So
I appreciate it.
The only character who can really avoid this is Amy, but I kind of appreciate that because that's a tough matchup normally. So
right.
For her, the pushback is not that bad. It's very bad for her, where pretty much all my options are guaranteed, regardless, with one curse.
That's good to know.
But other characters will be able to have some counter play with it. Now, for, I believe, most characters, I don't know the exact list off my head, if they don't Ukemi, you'll be also able to get this, for example, if you don't Ukemi. There's also this potential setup. And fun fact, on Talon and Setsuka, if you land the 2A plus B in neutral and approach them and do this, it's guaranteed, regardless of any Ukemi they do. That's something that a lot of people are also not aware of. That's all doable with one curse, assuming you can land this after one curse 4-6B. There's a lot of nasty things you can do. Another fun fact, and I guess this would be easier to demonstrate with Nightmare and Astaroth. Now I'm going to hit you with this move, which is called 6-6B plus K.
I can't move.
Let's fix that. There we go.
Okay.
So if you land 6-6B plus K from close range, if you don't move, there we go. Try Ukemi now.
Ew.
So that's pretty much a guaranteed setup against Nightmare and Astaroth. If you do 6-6B plus K against other characters, if you delay it, you can have a very similar situation, but the timing is very difficult. So that's another fun thing you can do.
That's crazy, wow.
Now, if I was to return to Cervantes, I think there's another thing I want to mention about 4-6B that a lot of players don't know about. Oh, nice skin.
Thanks. Oh shit, I did wrong. Sorry, do it again. Go ahead.
You have control.
Yeah. There you go.
So when I mentioned that a lot of characters can evade the 2A plus B, half of the cast will get hit by this setup. Now try to Cytokemi after the 4-6B. Try to avoid the first Ukemi because that's actually one of the ways of avoiding this check trap.
So don't Ukemi right away?
Yeah. Now Ukemi.
Oh, I was trying.
Or actually, the timing is a little bit difficult to parse it, but I just want to demonstrate this. Or actually, because Cervantes is very exclusive, where it doesn't work on right Ukemi, do left Ukemi only.
Okay. Ew.
So when I mentioned characters like Ivy and 2B are not caught by the tech trap, if you delay 6BB, that's guaranteed. Now, if you do the first Ukemi right after 4-6B, you're most likely going to be out of range for the 6B to hit. And hopefully, I don't know if that's enough frames for you to be able to even counter with punishment. That's another fun setup. Now, if I know a player is doing all this stuff, there is another option that I don't really use because I don't really need to, because most people don't have the good counterplay to this yet. Try to Ukemi again. So you see, I delayed a 6-6B, and that put you into a 4-stand situation. I'm now plus 10, and I'm now have also 61 damage off the boat. So you have a lot of options here, but 4-6B is the monster. At 2 curses, I can do a micro step forward and have the 2A plus B guaranteed, and then do crazy damage as well. But this was basically a primer of why 1 curse 4-6B is extremely dangerous, and most players need to finally start learning how to challenge it before they start claiming that this character is broken. Because honestly, this is very important for him to be able to stay consistent on the damage rates with most characters.
Awesome, thank you for that. So we're gonna skip ahead just for time constraints a little bit. What do you think is What bothers you the most as far as like something fake that people should not be falling for? They should be beating Zas players for doing this. Like maybe it gets a string or punishes something that they shouldn't be. What do you think?
Sure, there's a couple of things. So first thing that I was doing a lot before until people figured it out, and this is good for people to know as well, is if I do 2-2B from close range, and I do 4-6B after the 6K, I can do a lot of damage. So if you don't air control or anything, I'll show you what's possible.
Ew. Ew.
And that's without tech traps. With tech traps, I can basically do 2/3 of your health. So what people realize quickly is if you back air control back left, try it after this curse now.
Oh.
This whiffs, and you get a counter punch.
Okay.
Now,
I didn't know that.
Here's tech that a lot of people don't know, and most Zas players don't know. If I do a 2-2B and delay the 4-6B, this is assuming you already have a curse.
Right.
You're in a face down situation.
Gross.
And I can do all of the guaranteed nonsense that I showed you with that just by delaying it. For example, once you're going to get hit by the 4-6B in this setup, try to do a left ukemi.
Okay. Oh no.
So normally this will not be guaranteed. You won't be able to have any good setups after a 3B with one curse. Because normally you get, if I hit you with this, for example, with one curse, 72 damage. But I just did 120 damage, 130 damage actually a couple minutes ago. So if you're in a launch situation and you delay the 4-6B, you put them in a face down position where you can do the 6B tech trap or a lot of other options. If you notice that they ukemi where the 6B will fail, you can instantly react to that and do a 6A plus B instead for the guaranteed damage.
How does Zas players sleep at night? You guys make me sick.
So as Zas, you need to have really good reactions on how they ukemi, on your positional situation, and to be able to optimize his combos and damage. Other things that people should be aware of is, here's one example. If I do a 6A plus B as a counter hit, watch what happens. As a counter hit, so you have to start side step.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, yeah, let me step.
There you go. Oh, that was parsec. So in that counter situation, I'm guaranteed an I-12 punish, which is usually a curse. You have to try to keep side step so I can demonstrate this. There we go. Ew. So by the way, half of that was all fake. If you ukemi immediately after I do the 6K, you're gonna block everything there. You have to ukemi.
Oh, like right away? Okay.
Right after I do that curse.
All right.
Oh, that was
parsec. Try to mash ukemi. It's just ukemi being a sack of shit. There we go. Okay. That time's a little tricky.
Most people, for some reason, take the damage and we Zas playing, but that's all fake. And there's a lot of situations like that. Or for example, if I land this move, which normally no one ever uses because it's garbage, try sidestepping. You can basically side ukemi to avoid that as well.
Oh, okay.
Side ukemi to avoid it.
Yeah, that looks pretty bad. The move.
A lot of jank. But the thing that most people don't know about is this. And in RE situation, for example, if I land K, so do like a B, for example.
B? Okay.
Side ukemi immediately after I curse you.
Oh no!
You let go of block, but normally that would be guaranteed damage if they don't ukemi right away.
Oh, okay.
So you need to know to ukemi those to avoid giving us a fake mix-up or fake damage setup for you. So those are some of the things that people should be aware of. Another fake thing is if I do a level 3 GI on you.
Okay.
How should we do it?
I was gonna keep doing that till you want to do level 3 to me, right? Boom.
Yeah.
Oh.
Side roll this.
Oh, I've gotten hit by that before. Okay.
Yeah.
Roll. Don't ukemi. Just roll. Okay. All right.
And you can basically ring me out right there because of my silly decision. So always be aware of those are the main culprits that I see these days.
No, that's awesome, man. Thank you for those two things. So let's kind of briefly just for time constraints. You were talking about 6A series before, the 3A series. Generally, how do you beat Zas?
Learn the string punishes that I mentioned. So, for example, have an option select for the 6A series. When it comes to the 6A series, have an option select like the one you did, where the 6A plus B, if I do full hold, it's going to get punished.
Okay.
Partial hold, you're going to be able to still block punish me for I-14. 3AB, if you see me partial hold it, sidestep to your left, and you basically do whatever you want to me, because the recovery is not really great for me. Partial hold, and on block, it's I-14, so you can punish me there. Again, the 6A series, yep. You can sidestep to 6A-B. Obviously, Zas players want the 6A-A for the +6 or guaranteed counter hit there. So if you duck it, you can do tremendous damage, like with C or with IDDR. Once you have that narrowed down, you basically scrap most of Zas's pressure, and now he's forced to rely on very bad lows, a lot of verticals, which while some are very good, have terrible whiff recovery. So if you sidestep him, you basically have a guaranteed punish, or basically force the Zas player to do a lot of throws. The forward throw, which has recently changed, is decent for Oki. The back throw is pretty terrible for Oki.
And that rings out behind you, right?
It can ring you out. That's the only thing that rings you out. That's the next thing to know about Zas.
Okay.
So you have no real reason to ever duck him unless he has 2 curses. Give me 1 quick minute as well.
Go ahead, man. Thank you, everybody, for watching the stream so far. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, hit me up in the chat. We'll get going through right now the Anti Zas portion, and then we're going to ask some questions.
So apologies for that. So no, that's the string defense. When he's by the edge, if you go close to me, the only thing that will bring you out at this point, thanks to the recent patch, is back throw. So always break back.
Okay.
Or you get rung out. There are some very janky setups with certain angles where forward throw may ring you out, but that's very rare and few. And for example, will be in a corner. That's not going to happen often. Let's try to see if I can replicate it. Like right here. If I do a forward, it'll ring you out.
So that's very situational. Okay.
Yeah, so you really have no real reason to be afraid of forward throw anymore.
So his back's to the edge, a break back.
Yeah. Okay. If he does the 3A to try to fish you, try holding block. On block, even just to avoid any kind of risk, you can just backstep once. Well, that's a situation you don't want to be rung out. Okay. But you can backstep after blocking 3A, and especially for characters like Cervantes and Halmaro, all my options are not going to reach him at that point. So, for example, try it again. Yeah, you let it block the full string altogether.
Oh, block the full string. Okay. I thought you meant
block. So even though you're going to be 0 on block, you will have enough frames to avoid most of my options afterwards. Or you can box step, sidestep. Just be very patient. Don't let the Zas player force you into it. Or if you're very ballsy, you can just let him do the full hold 3A plus B, sidestep, and ring him out instead. You just have to play very patient.
Gotcha. Okay.
So no strings. Always break back at the wall. Don't let him do his pseudo pressure on you because he has no real reason to force you to crouch.
Right.
And just be aware of his curse setups and tech traps, and you do far better with this character. You cannot sidestep constantly, especially when you're in +4. Characters like Cervantes are the exception because, for example, if I land this on you and you backstep, I won't be able to even hit you with 3A plus B.
Okay.
So you have to be. Well, see, perfect demonstration. That's why Cervantes. That's one reason why Cervantes and Halmaro, for example, are terrible for Zas because I can't really enforce my +4 pressure against them because they can simply back.
So that's I think that's always my issue too. Is I never know when to apply stuff to Zas and when to move. But you've done an excellent job of breaking all that down. Thank you. All right, so let's see here. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask a couple of questions before we conclude. What do you think? Just talking now. What do you think Zas's favorable matchups are? I've heard Astaroth, but what, in your opinion, are favorable matchups?
So the Zas community is in a funny situation where every player has a drastically different opinion of the matchup charts. So I can't say where we have a very similar opinion. But my in my opinion, I think Astrov is the only favorable matchup in the game for him.
Okay.
Only favorable matchup. And that's because he can enforce a lot of he can mash a lot because of the frames he's given.
Mhm.
A lot of Astra's best counter hit moves are usually I-20 or around that range. So Zaz basically can put a lot of pressure. A lot of crazy tech options that he has against Astra are guaranteed as opposed to other characters.
Mhm.
And because of 4A plus B and other guard break tools, you usually actually win the guard break race against a patient Asta. So regardless of whether you're facing an aggressive Asta where you can do a lot of good punishes on ducking his throws, or a patient Asta where you're always guaranteed to block, break his guard damage, you basically have a lot of options against that character. But that's still, in my opinion, the only matchup which I feel is favorable to Zaz. The other ones, you really have to outplay the other player, especially at the highest level.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I'm assuming you're not one of those people who agrees what is constant. Totally top tier. You're not really feeling that.
In my opinion, I don't think Zaz is top 10. He's like maybe like 11, 13, around that range at this point. And that's because if you to truly succeed with Zaz, you need amazing fundamentals. And if you're that type of a player, you're going to succeed with any character. So it's for me hard to kind of distinguish at that point whether it's the character that's really helping
Mm-hmm.
or if it's just the player. Because, for example, if you apply the same fundamentals to a character like Wrath, you're going to be having much more consistent results, in my opinion, because of how great his whiff punishment and defensive tools are.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you for that. So what do you feel are the most frustrating matches for Zess?
So I'm currently seeing the stream ops. I don't have access to the game right now. So in case I wanted to demonstrate anything.
Oh, yeah, we'll just chalk in. Just have the stream moms. Do you need me to go back to the game?
Or actually, it's fine because we kind of went over most of the things. So Cervantes, Halmaro, because they can backstep a lot of his plus situations. Basically, I have no real way of pushing pressure, maintaining the aggression against them. I had to really play a much more defensive guard break game against characters like Cervantes and Halmaro.
Mm-hmm.
Serve has 2A plus B, which is amazing because a lot of ways that there are several ways that you can maintain pseudo pressure as Oz. One is GI pressure. Another situation is mashing. So some players like to use 2A a lot, or full crusher K, or do string pressure. If you're minus and Cervantes is 2A plus B, you basically lose 1/4 of your life and now have amazing OK pressure against you.
Right.
So that tool is extremely scary against him, and the fact that he can avoid most of his attacks with his crazy great backstep just makes it much more difficult. Other difficult matchups would be Yoshi, Siegfried, who have amazing counter tools against the strings, but also can maintain much better mix-up and damage pressure. So, for example, Siegfried and Yoshi are much better at the wall, for example, and have much crazier ring out games in many situations. So it's kind of a very tough battle. Siegfried has base hold, of course, so you have to be very careful how much horizontals you use. And a lot of Zaz's best verticals, especially on whiff, will guarantee usually a lethal hit when you're facing Cervantes, for example, or even Yoshimitsu.
Awesome.
Hilde is a tough matchup because she has her absurd half damage combo, which is only guaranteed against Zaz and Astaroth. So you have to be extremely careful about not whiffing and just being up in her face constantly.
I didn't know she had a Bigs only combo. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yep. Halmaro has amazing backstep, and it's impossible to catch him with even long-range tools consistently with 6B. So you basically lose your turn constantly, and he's able to maintain a lot of the spatial pressure. It's best to be in Halmaro's face, but again, because he doesn't have great lows or like subpar throws, maintaining the pressure consistently and avoiding a situation where they duck and put you into an Oki blender is not very easy to do. And Talon is a matchup that I'm starting to consider a little bit more difficult for Zaz because a lot of his great punishes to her stances has been basically eliminated. Talon basically has a complete mix-up against Zaz and most of her great strings. So she has a lot less to risk than Zaz, and the guaranteed punishes that Zaz does have in many situations are very low damage. So you just have to really outplay the player in that situation, which is why I think Talon's a little bit of an uphill battle. But there's a lot of matchups like that. Amy can be a little bit difficult in the neutral because of that situation, and a lot of other matchups as well.
For sure. Well, thank you very much for stopping by, sharing all your knowledge. Definitely appreciate everything, man. Definitely hit him up on Twitter. It's at FEMUN. You know what, man? Say your Twitter handle. I'm never going to get this right.
Sure.
I'm never going to get this right.
I always forget if it's like Twitter hash or whatever, but it's basically just my name, FEREMUNTRS. RUS. And of course, if you have any questions about Zas that you want to ask me, feel free. Or if you're trying to learn a character, definitely check out the Zas Discord. It has all the information you need.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you stopping by, answering any questions for Zas. Again, if you guys have further follow-ups for Zas, feel free to reach out. And if you don't know his, definitely know mine, and I will connect you to him. All these players have been awesome with helping out with the community. Again, we got a community project that I'm working on also, and I will definitely let you know now that Feremuntrus has been he's going to be helping out quite extensively with Zasalamel, so it's going to be a real cool big community player matchup chart, so we can really put our heads together and kind of see who is actually top tier, who's good. Matchup chart is like I think the best way to kind of do things instead of just one player says one thing, one player says other, because we're all of us players are going to be a little biased, you know. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be cool, man.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and give me the chance to hopefully help people out, either learning Zas or fighting Zas.
No, for sure, man. Thank you all for joining, and everybody have